Hi, Andre.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to see you again
You too?
and to catch up.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about an interesting subject. It's called coming out of the closet, which wasn't something I was expecting to talk about, but I thought it's a very good subject to talk about.
Sure. And so what do you mean by coming out of the closet?
Well, coming out of the closet is about actually owning who you are and being who you are, despite your background, where you've come from, and what you've been trained to be.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, because I feel where you come from as a family or a situation has a big effect on your whole life.
Yeah. And so when you talk about you coming out of the closet, what do you mean by that?
Me coming out of the closet.
Yeah.
Really interesting enough is that when I started doing my readings, I met from time to time gay people that came along to see me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quite sad to see them because they're really scared to come out of the closet.
Mm-hmm.
And they really wanted to fit in and they wanted to be accepted by their family. It was family mainly, actually. The pressure was mainly family, the same. And I recognised it in myself. And I realised that I had been brought up a certain way. And that was the expectations of my family and the pressure it was to live my life a certain way and to follow a certain religion. And it was sort of really controlling. And I saw this reflected back in gay people and how sad that made them.
Sure. So the term coming out of the closet we normally associate with homosexuals admitting one to themselves, but also to
the world.
The world.
Yeah.
And you saw that saying parallel with yourself and your own upbringing.
100%, very, very much. So even to this day, I have to say that I still feel that now. And it's never an easy thing to be honest and be who you are. And I just did a podcast earlier with Charlie Seaman from Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things he said to me after the podcast was, you're allowed to be who you are. And I think that's really important, but you're allowed to be who you are. But for me, it was very difficult to be who I was.
Yeah, sure. And so how did you come to this yourself?
Coming out of the closet, it was a long process. You can't just be in the closet one day and come out the next. So it took a long time because for many years I was brought up in this very, very strict Catholic family. Mm-hmm. Some of them are still very strict Catholic, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that because people are allowed to be who they are and they're allowed to follow whatever they want to follow. So that makes them happy and that feels right for them. That's good. But I felt very controlled by that.
Yeah, I understand.
Very controlled. And I was my mum said to me growing up that it's not good to be open-minded, that you need to be very close-minded. And I thought about that recently and I thought that's a form of control.
Yeah. And why do you think she came to that determination?
Because I think she was scared.
Right. Of what the open mind can explore.
Absolutely, because I felt that she was fearful, and I think there's a lot of hellfire and brimstone being brought up a Catholic, because that's what I was taught, that if you don't follow the Catholic faith, you'll go to hell, and that was scary as a child.
Yeah, well, the pictures are certainly scary, right, of hell.
Well, it even happened to me when the first thing that happened is that my marriage broke up,
mm-hmm.
and that was quite hard enough as it was. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up meeting a younger man, and I did the worst thing. I lived in sin with this man. And
so what does live with sin mean?
It means that you're not married with someone. So I was still separated from your dad, and I lived in sin. And at that time, because this strict Catholic family was so strong, my marriage had broken down. And then I met this younger man, and I just thought, oh well, I've pretty much broken the rules now.
Yeah.
So I might as well go for it. But we went to Italy, and I actually broke down when I saw the heaven and hell pictures at the Vatican and things like that. I actually broke down, and he actually helped me see it for what it was.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like thinking about that heaven and hell, it's the perfect way to enact control, right? If you don't follow this, then you're going to experience the worst hell for eternity. How better to get people to follow a certain way of thinking.
Well, that's how it was. And even though I was living this life, I was still really upset and quite sad.
Yeah.
And he saw a picture on one of these, a dome, which I went back, it's in Florence, and he said, just have a look at that. He gave me perspective. He said, it's a cartoon. I'm not just in the Catholic faith. I'm just talking about this painting.
Yeah.
And he said, there's a devil poking a hot poker at someone's bottom. And I just remember it had this relevance, and it really made me laugh. And he said, you're allowing, he didn't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And he was telling me not to be Catholic. He's saying, but you're allowing this fear to actually control you. And so that really helped me step away. That was probably the first breaking, apart from me being a bit rebellious and doing what I wanted to do, it was the first breaking down for me.
Right.
To realise
It's the first conscious decision.
Conscious decision.
Yeah.
But then I started being, what happened was that relationship didn't work out, but I found my way into mediumship. And I was a closet medium for many, many years. I had it from my family. My children knew, but a lot of people didn't know. I did it in secret.
And why did you do that?
Because I was terrified. I was scared about being judged.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't scared about going to hell. Well, actually, that's not true. I was a little bit.
Are you still?
No.
Okay.
Because no such thing as hell. I don't believe in hell because spirits told me there's no such thing as hell. Hell is just on earth. That's the only hell that there is. And I know that
hell can be in the closet, right?
Hell's in the closet a lot more. But I was actually working as a psychic medium, and I was putting ads in the paper. I'm sure they sort of knew about it, and my children knew about it, and my friends knew about it, but I never spoke about it with my family. I was terrified.
Yeah.
And at one point, it really got to me so much that I don't remember as a child, but I got rid of all my pictures. I had pictures of unicorns and wizards and spiritual things, and I got rid of them all. Can you remember that?
No, I can't.
Oh, I did. I went and threw it all in the tip.
Because you're ashamed of it, or what's?
I was just sort of got this. I don't know. I came to this. I suppose it happened with gay people. Anybody in the closet. I got to this tipping point where I was terrified. So I decided to try and walk away from it. Mm-hmm. So I got rid of all my things, and nothing changed. I found that my power and my intuition and my gift got stronger and stronger and stronger. It just wouldn't leave me.
Wow. Okay.
And then what happened? I went over to the States. And I was going around the Grand Canyon, and I was listening to this Indian music, and it's in my book.
Yeah.
And Spirit came in again, and they said, this is what you're meant to do with your life. And I argued with them. I said, I can't. I'm a single mum at that time. I got to put a roof over my children's head. I need to provide them. I can't step out and be a psychic medium.
Yeah.
So I argued with them, but then later on I was led into it.
Okay.
And then, as I've mentioned in one of my other podcasts, that it was actually my friend Karen that helped me come out of the closet even further.
So it was a gradual
Process.
escape out of that closet.
Oh, I would say it would have taken 20 years or about 20 years to come out of that closet.
Wow. Are you still in there at all?
I'm not in there. I'm not in the closet anymore, and I'm a lot more open.
Yeah.
But I find sometimes the people that, I suppose, I'm not saying they're in their closet, they're in their world, in their religious world. I find it very hard to be accepted by them. I've spoken to them about myself before, and I find anybody that is not allowed to be who they are, to be, because we all want to be loved and accepted, and family's important.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. They're the closest sort of people
so
to us.
So it's really scary to actually stand in your own power and be who you are. Lately, I've been watching the series Leaving Utopia about the Glory Vale, and it's been on Netflix.
Right.
And it's about people that escaped Glory Vale. I mean, obviously it might work for some of them, but it doesn't work for everyone.
Okay.
So I think it's about having that sense within yourself and the passion within yourself and being happy within yourself. Mm-hmm. And that very powerful statement about you're allowed to be who you are, and you're allowed to connect who you are without getting the pleasing other people. I think it's about being a people pleaser and being accepted.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very easy thing to say and understand, right? That completely makes sense. But in practice, it's very, very difficult, even for myself. But I'm sure, 90% or 99% of people, because society has constructs around it.
Yes.
And we're very, we're evolved to be tribal.
Yes, we are.
And so we need to fit within the tribe, right? Even if that tribe isn't 100% aligned with us.
Yes.
And so operating out of the tribe, you're making a decision to alienate yourself in some respects, because we become not normal. You're no longer
Absolutely.
normal.
Yeah. So for me, it's a
Yeah.
conscious decision.
Yeah.
Continually a conscious decision, because the tribe's still there,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got the connection of love, and you've got the connection of family,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't fully connect with them.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's really quite difficult. And I feel for gay people that aren't able to be accepted maybe by society or their family to be completely who they are. But it's
Yeah.
important that they are. It's important that you're born into this life for a reason, and you're allowed
Mm-hmm.
to be who you are and to live your life fully as you are
Yeah, well, it's a problem with the tribe, not with the individual.
with individual. And
And we
what
can probably learn from that from various different aspects, not just your sexuality or your religious status, but it's with everything in life, right?
Absolutely, that's
Yeah.
right. But what you'll find, you will find your own tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And what you'll find is that the right people are drawn towards you.
Right.
And so you meet like-minded people that understand who you are, and you spend
Mm-hmm.
more time with those sort of people that get you and reflect back to you who you are.
So you build your own community
You build your own community
of normal.
of your own normal.
Yeah.
It was quite interesting because one of the guys that work at Calendars, where he knows what I did, he said, well, there's not many people that believe in what you do. And it's like, yes, there are, because my world is that everybody believes in it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I guess the as technology has evolved and our ability to communicate instantly over, time and space is no longer an issue. I mean, you just had a podcast with someone in Vancouver,
Yes.
in real time, so that ability to connect with like-minded individuals is easier than it's ever been in the entire history of the human race. So we're no longer bound by the people that are geographically
No, exactly.
close to you, that are a day's walk, which is at some point in time that was it,
In
right?
history,
Your
yeah.
community was those that you could
Yeah.
see in real life.
And I do feel if you actually embrace who you are, in a way, your family, you're not part of their tribe, but they sort of have to accept you.
Yeah,
If they want to have anything to do with you, they have to accept you. They can't control that.
absolutely.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that was quite hard for my brother, who's no longer with us, and he was Baha'i.
Yeah.
And
He was what, sorry?
he was a Baha'i. That was his religion, was Baha'i.
Oh, right.
And
What's Baha'i?
Baha'i is a religion.
Yeah, but what is it? I've never...
Have you heard of Baha'i?
No.
Oh, I think they believe, I don't know too much about it. I went to
Yeah.
one of his talks. I think they believe that there's different messiahs and prophets, and Jesus
right.
was a prophet, and there's a different one, that Baha'u'llah was the last one.
Right.
And so they don't have one follower. They say there's different prophets, and that's how they believe.
Okay.
And still there's Baha'is that are today, and they have their own traditions and things that they follow.
Sure. Religiously.
Religiously, but
Yeah.
that's what and so my mum, she wouldn't go to his wedding because she just couldn't accept it. That's how staunch she was about it, and that's but she stood by her own beliefs,
Yeah, and I guess that's her belief.
and she's
So
allowed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole thing about is actually accepting other people's beliefs. I think because that's something I've actually been confronted with myself. Like if I meet a skeptic, for instance, in a way, it's almost like a skepticism can almost be a religion.
Yeah, for sure. If your belief system is that, for instance, the physical world is the universe and that's all that exists, then that's their belief, right?
Yeah, some people just only believe in this physical world. They don't. Yeah, some people still believe the world is flat.
Yes.
They do.
Yeah.
So that's okay. And it's also, I think it's really important about if you're going to be authentic about who you are, it's fair enough that you should accept other people for who they are, and they're entitled to their beliefs and their perspectives. And the blessing about like living in New Zealand or living in a European country is that, or the Western world, is that we're allowed to be who we are, but some cultures are not allowed to be. They're not allowed to think for themselves.
Yeah. They're very, very
Limited.
strict sort of cultures, right?
Yeah, culture's very strict on, and so.
Yeah.
But if you are part of the Western culture, I would encourage people to be who they are, because your family will love you. They may not approve of you, but of course they'll love you.
Yeah, in most cases, right? Some will
yeah.
just won't.
In some cases,
But that's their problem.
it is their problem
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
But you find they do come around in time. Because the other thing I found about my family is the generations have gone down. That, like, I'm not the only. I started the first person to not necessarily be married to someone I was living with, and then I've noticed my nieces and nephews have all done that.
Yeah.
And
Right.
everyone's even marrying somebody in a different religion.
Yeah.
And that's not frowned upon. So as time goes down, it gets more accepted. And I think
Yeah.
that society is becoming more accepting of people as well. And I think that's very important.
Yeah, it's a good evolution of the human
Yeah.
circle community. And so, just going back to your own experience
Yes.
of coming out of the closet,
Yeah.
is how you describe it. How has that affected your psychic and mediumship as a
Uh,
result of coming out of the
that's a
closet?
very good question.
Yeah.
It's only got better.
Okay.
It's got better. It's been such a blessing. It's much more exciting. I'm much more passionate. I can really evolve.
hmm
I can fly. It gives me so much happiness.
So you found it quite liberating.
Liberating is a great word. So liberating, so free and liberating.
Yeah. Which is because your book's Breaking Free.
Oh, that's right. I never thought about that. It is
Yeah.
called Breaking Free. That's
Yeah.
right.
And
Yeah.
is that Breaking Free? Is that symbolic of what you're describing now?
Absolutely. It's extremely symbolic about what I'm describing now.
Okay. Yeah. So you saw an exponential increase in your ability to connect with spirit and
Be
that
truly
sort of
who
thing.
I am.
Yeah. Wow. Cool.
And that's what I wrote it about. To try also not just to share my story, but by to help others to break free, to be who they are. Because it's part of it's not only part of your passion, it's part of your purpose to break free, to be who you truly are. And I think sometimes the constraints we have may not be religion or anything, because constraints we have is within ourselves.
Sure. Yeah. And many different facets. And they're probably not static either. They probably change over time, right? So you could break free to who you really are, but who you really are changes over time. And you have to allow yourself
To evolve.
to evolve with that.
And I think it's also personality, and I think it's doubts as well, because we have our own negative self-talk and we have our own doubts. So we actually stop it. We keep ourselves entwined.
Yeah, sure. And those things are probably, some aspects of them are probably important, right? Because without self-doubt and self-talk, we need to be critical of ourselves to also understand where we've done things wrong or where we can improve.
Oh, that's good, but I don't think being
But there's a limit, right?
There's a balance with everything. That's
Yeah.
what I've always found, and
Uh-huh.
it's not good to be self-destructive either.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a fine balance between being self-destructive and being real with yourself as well.
Yeah, and
Right.
I also feel it's about nothing. Nobody's perfect. Not one person's perfect, and none
Yeah.
of us are. And it's about loving and accepting our imperfections,
Mm-hmm.
and not only in us, firstly in ourselves, and then in others.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's loving. Because if you love someone, you love them fully. So
Yeah.
it's about loving yourself fully and allowing that
Unconditionally.
unconditionally.
Yeah. Okay. And so how can you encourage others to follow, I guess you've had this, breaking free event, this out of the closet, whatever you want to call it. How can you encourage others to do the same thing?
I think first of all they've got to be honest with themselves. They have to go within themselves and just, well, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
What am I about? Am I comfortable? Am I happy in my situation? Is this where I want to be? Is this how I want to live my whole life? And I think also you need to look at, like, when I get to 80 on my deathbed, and am I going to be feeling that I've lived my life fully? Because life's a gift.
Yeah.
And just how I say, look ahead and you think, is this where I want to be?
Yeah. I mean, life's short, right? Even
Life is
80, you
very
think
short.
that's not
You might
that
even
long.
not even get to 80.
Absolutely.
So I believe that, like, life's a journey, not a destination. But I think is this who I want to be? Is this is this a legacy I want to leave behind?
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. I can also understand how frightening that is, right? Because if you're within, we'll say the closet, you know what that is, and you might
Yes.
be convinced yourself that that's okay, it's comfortable, you're coping, you sort of know what you're dealing with a little bit. Whereas if you jump out and expose it yourself, that's uncertainty, right? Because you don't know you don't know how people are going to react, you don't know how you're going to be treated, and so that could be discouraging.
Yeah. There's
For
always
those people.
there's ramifications, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah.
There
But
is
what you're
that.
saying is make the leap.
Mate,
Be courageous.
be courageous. I would say,
Yeah.
like, embrace it. Like, feel, what's that book? Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because the rewards that you get, there's always negative and positive. The rewards that you get are way higher than the negatives, because you actually live a fulfilled life.
Yeah.
You have a life with purpose, and you have a life with meaning. I think having a life with meaning is really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, if you're you've got constraints, and you've got shackles holding you back to who you
Yeah.
truly are.
And when I talk to Spirit World, because that's one of the messages that came through from Spirit World, is that they wish they had done things. They often say they wish they had been less trapped up in themselves, or trying to refrain themselves or live a certain way, and they wish they'd actually fulfilled their passion. And one of the messages they pass on is be who you are, love who you are. And like even for me, my spirit family, my mum and my dad, and they've all come through mediums, and they've come to me personally as well, and they've given me information, and they actually 100% understand what I'm doing now. They didn't at the time, because we have these, it's called earthly restraints. We have earthly restraints, but when we go to the other world, it's so much freer and it's so much easier.
You
And
get a better perspective, a full perspective.
A full perspective of what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't just believe I actually know that. I know that for myself. So I think also what you can do, if you're finding it hard to break free and be who you are, get a really good coach. I think a really good coach and a mentor to help you break free.
How would you find a coach or mentor for that?
I think whoever, like someone like Tracy Manu, for instance, or I had a really good life coach. So I had a really good friend. So I had friends that helped me and they supported me. I also feel a life coach or someone like that, or a counsellor, because sometimes counsellors can help with that sort of thing. So I think having someone to help you through the process and what that looks like, and almost you can almost make a plan and to embrace who you are, because it was a life coach that was my friend, and it was also the life coach that told me gave me the courage to put my photo on my website.
Right, okay.
And the ramifications and the fear wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. In fact, when I did Sensing Murder, I was really surprised about how some of the family watched me on Sensing Murder, and they said how well I did.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting. So you had you perceived that people were going to react a certain way.
Yes.
But in reality, that never eventuated.
Oh, some of them did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was at my aunt's funeral, and I'd just been on Sensing Murder, and I had about 3 family members come up to me, and I was really surprised who came up and watched me and just were absolutely amazed with it. Really surprised. One being my brother, Brendan, he's not with us.
Yeah.
But one was, I remember when they said really loudly, and my auntie was at the burial site, and said really loudly in front of his wife, he said, I saw you on Sensing Murder, it was really amazing, I loved it. And I was like really shocked, but his wife didn't like it.
Interesting.
But he didn't care.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very brave of him, because he stood in the power of who he was. Even though he had this marriage, he's going to be who he was. And I thought that was like a gift to me.
Yeah.
And the weird thing about it is when he said it, it'd been like a very dark grey day, and suddenly she was buried and the sun just came out at the same time. And to me that was a sign, it was an endorsement from my aunt, who didn't approve of it when she was alive, but she knew all about it now.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So it was really incredible.
Yeah. So the world needs more courageous people, right?
Yes.
To allow this to happen.
And I want to say follow your strengths. Follow your strengths, because one of the things I really loved when I was younger, I used to write my own music. I used to play the guitar, I used to sing, I used to write my music, I used to write my songs. I've married a musician, my husband John, and it was a lady girl came up to me when I was 14, and she criticised my voice. And when I was at family gatherings, I used to always sing, and people wanted me to sing, and she mocked me, and I never did it again.
Yeah. There's I can imagine there's billions of people that could almost say that same story.
Absolutely. And I remember as a youngster I wanted to do ballet and dance to express myself with movement, and I wasn't allowed to. I was restricted away from doing that, very restricted. And I became a aerobics instructor later on in my life.
Yeah.
So it was almost like I wasn't allowed to as a child, but it came out somewhere else. And I remember getting quite angry when I went to a show, thinking I wasn't allowed to be who I was. So I'd say, actually, what you're doing, you're taking away from your life if you're not living your life fully.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense.
You're actually hurting yourself. So stop hurting yourself and live your life fully. Whatever it is, if you want to go to the gym, if you want to start singing, if you want to start doing a hobby, just do it. Just start somewhere and keep following through. Because this life is a gift. And it's part of your purpose. It's who you are.
Yeah. I guess one of the things that's hard to do is to figure out sometimes that you're in that closet
Yes,
in
it
certain
is.
aspects of your life. So step one is kind of trying to discover who you are and how you're possibly restricting yourself based on your surroundings, your tribe, and
Yes.
then having the courage at that point to come out. So that's, I guess, what you're saying. You use a mentor, a friend,
Yeah, to qualify it.
to help it.
Because
Yeah.
some of it is, it could be your own negative self-talk, or it could be what's expected from you from your tribe, be it family or religion or anything, your tribe.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
think someone else, it's almost like you can almost write it down,
Yeah.
and then you can start seeing something open up for you and flower as it's meant to, because it's not just a gift to yourself, it's a gift to others. Because something I feel being a medium is that I'm not only depriving myself, I'm depriving the spirit world, and I'm also depriving those who come and see me, and how life-changing that's not only been for myself, how it is for others. So if you're a poet and you're not writing your poetry and you want to, you're depriving yourself, but you're also depriving the joy of other people. So
Yeah.
it's a gift to
Yeah.
yourself for others.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole world misses out.
Yes.
Yeah. Imagine if how many people in this world, 6, 7, 8 billion people. If everyone was able to be the best person they could be,
Had the potential of being.
yeah, how elevated would be.
Absolutely. And maybe let's hope that's where the world will go one day. Maybe we will elevate to that point where
Yeah.
all these awful wars and fighting will stop.
Well, I think we're tending towards that way, and I think technology's got a massive part to play in that. By just connecting voices across the world and being able to transmit information, we can build communities online, and we're seeing it.
Right.
And yeah, there is still wars going on, but actually, if you look how we were 200 years ago, it's very, very different.
That's interesting, isn't
Yeah,
it?
so I think we are trending that way.
We're evolving that way.
Even if it doesn't feel like that all the time, because there's still a lot of closed-minded people and communities and countries and leaders.
But it just gradually just breaking down, and break down to break through, really, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And there's certain reasons why we're like that. So 4,000 years ago, we had to be tribal to survive.
Yes.
Because if you weren't within your tribe, you'd get axed, right?
Yes.
Like that's just how we existed. So you had to be within that tribe. But that's no longer the case anymore in modern society.
Right, so you've got lots of opportunities.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, thank you, Andre. Really enjoyed this, and hopefully by listening to this podcast that you're able to be open, support yourself, find who you truly are, break out of any restrictions or closet that you find yourself in. And if you find it really hard, talk to a trusted friend, a therapist or a life coach, and let yourself, the seeds be planted, water those seeds, let it blossom and flower into something beautiful, because not only are you honouring yourself, you're also honouring the world. If you like this podcast, please like and please subscribe. And by subscribing, you'll get notifications about more podcasts that are coming up. Also, please feel welcome to comment about anything about this podcast, or if you want to ask me any questions, go to kerry-marie.co.nz, go to contact me. If you've got anything you'd like to ask me. At the same time, any ideas that you have for podcasts, let me know what you'd like to know about or more about. You can also book a reading with me through kerry-marie.co.nz, and you can order my book Breaking Free that we talked about today, and also my Message from Spirit cards. Blessings and love, Kerry-Marie.